What's up, guys? It's Bax, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about Caustic in Season 5. It's a question I've seen a lot in the comments, and obviously it's going to be a hot topic. I've seen it a lot on Twitter. People are getting really upset about Caustic's buff, and I wanted to talk from the perspective of someone who has been maining Caustic for a long time, since Season 1, and not somebody who's just like looking at the meta, who's good, and then crying about the meta changing. Because I've seen that a lot, and I don't want to come off as like, oh no, everyone's just mad because Caustic's good now. But in reality, the buff to Caustic didn't do much in the grand scheme. Is it powerful? Is it a big change? Yes. But it's not a huge, gigantic, wow, I can't believe they just remade Caustic. Like, if this video is how to play Caustic in Season 5, watch all my other guides. None of them are outdated. All of them still work. All of it is still how you should play Caustic, and guides on how to maneuver around with him and how you should play him. The only difference now is you have a little bit more options for comp and also aggression as you play, and there's going to be a lot more Caustics as well that you're fighting against. So the Caustic on Caustic fighting that I spoke about briefly in my one video, that's maybe the only thing that there is a little bit more to talk about now, because Caustic has been... people realize his potential now. It just never happened before. This buff just kind of made it to where people were like, oh wow, this guy's really strong. And you see players like IPN on Alliance, who he's been running Caustic. I went to his stream and asked him some questions about it, and you know, one of the things he said was it didn't really change anything for his team. Like the buff didn't change anything. They're still playing around Caustic like they used to, and that a good team playing around Caustic, it's not going to affect them that much, because of the change only really affects people now who aren't used to having Caustics everywhere, and they don't know how to avoid him, and they don't know how to counter him. Then they think there's no counter. A big counter with Caustic is not going into the corner of a building and sitting there. Like, that's not a play, especially if you don't have a Watson. Like, that's not a play you can make. You can't just sit in a building. You have to take the fight to the Caustic, and people are seeing that now because of the aggression you're able to have with your teammates not being slowed by the gas. But there's a con to that pro, and the con is there's going to be a lot more Caustics, right? So if you're not Caustic, you don't know whose gas is your teammate's gas and who's your enemy's gas. So there's a lot of communication that needs to be had between teammates now, saying, hey, I just do my ultimate here. Like, this is my ultimate. Anything else isn't mine. Or these are my traps. Don't go in here. Like, I'm going to trap here. Or sometimes what I would say is, like, I'm not going to trap. None of these are mine. Be careful. And I just don't use my abilities unless I cocoon myself. Or I call out specifically I'm going to use an ultimate. I just don't use them because I don't want to confuse my teammates. A lot of that had to do with W keying. I haven't played a lot of rank this season, if at all. But from what I'm witnessing, like, people are just getting upset because they don't know how to counter Caustic. And honestly, not much has changed for the guy. Like, teammates being able to move around, they're still blinded, and since there's so many other Caustics, they're going to get caught out in other Caustic traps and in other ultimates. But you can't just say, oh, there's no counter to Caustic, and then sit in the corner of a building. Like, that is definitely not the counter to Caustic. If you're not running a Caustic on your team, his biggest counter is his size. If you're in a Predator or Diamond level team, especially on console, and you run out and aim at this dude, like, you're gonna destroy him. If your whole team is like, hey, look for the Caustics out here, kill him, and all three of you guys aim at him and shoot, like, the chances are you're just gonna kill him. So there's a lot more Caustic on Caustic fighting now, and other than that, your teammates, you just have to be a lot more, you have to call out a lot more to let your teammates know where your traps are, so that they don't run in thinking it's yours and then start getting burned. But realistically, not much changed other than those things. Like, this is just throwing a lot of people off because more people are starting to play Caustic in the meta. But as far as it goes, it doesn't change much. So if you're wondering how to play Caustic in Season 5, look at the other guides that I put out, my other guides 1, 2, and 3, and the tips that are there, nothing has changed for that. They haven't changed Caustic drastically enough for it to warrant a change in anything. And I wanted to say this. I don't want this to come across as lazy, or I don't want to, you know, make a guide or something, but I just don't want to repeat things that are already in another video, and I don't want to just say things that aren't necessary. So, you know, when you're playing against a Caustic now and you have a Caustic on your team, that's really the only thing, is there's more Caustics that you have to fight. And I mean, I never really wanted that. I never really wanted there to be Caustics everywhere. That's why I like how he is not an easy legend to play, because you aren't able to just run around, you know, willy-nilly doing whatever you want. You have to play carefully as a Caustic. And it's not going to be a character a lot of people are going to want to play. So even if he is really good and really strong, not everyone wants to run him because there's a very specific playstyle you have to have around him. You know, I even saw it in Series 2. I saw the potential he had with my comp with Wraith and Watson. And most of the time, even with really good players that I played with, they just would get frustrated very easily on playing with the Caustic, like they want a W key. But that's just not how you have to play when you're playing with Caustic. And they would put themselves and myself in bad situations that would just get us killed, and then they're like, oh, it's because you're Caustic. So they didn't want to take the time to learn how to play with the Caustic, and it ended up just killing us half the time. But now that people are actually realizing he's good and they're playing him, like, I could see them nerfing him just to get him out of the meta because people are getting mad about it. But in reality, the change that we saw, it wasn't huge. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I really want to know your guys' opinions on this. I've been seeing a lot of questions, you know, just about series or season 5 Caustic and what did this change do? And in my opinion, it didn't really do much. It just kind of woke people up to the fact that Caustic is really powerful. Let me know what you guys think, if you disagree or if you agree, or what you think on it, because I personally am going to play him the same way, and I need my team to play the same way around me. Not much has changed as far as how I would play Caustic in a ranked scenario as it was last season and the season before. So I'm really curious to see what you guys think about it. Personally, I would have rather them change some more personal stuff for Caustic, whereas, I mean, not as much as team-oriented abilities. I would have been a lot happier with them just making it to where his ultimate gets thrown out a lot faster, or something of those lines that weren't about the team running in and out of the gas, because, you know, that can just add confusion if your team's not really sure of what they're doing. So I would have been a lot better with just some, you know, personalized things where the ultimate gets thrown faster, or maybe traps. You can throw some traps where they automatically start the second you throw them and there's no way to pop them. But there is no, it's like the second you throw it, it's burned. Something like that would have been cool for more of like a skill gap with Caustic. I do like that he has a very high skill ceiling and he's not super easy to pick up and play. And that's where his strength and his weakness lies. So I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. I'll be actively in there typing and responding to you guys. Absolutely love doing that. So I hope you guys have a good day, and let me know in the comments what you think.